Welcome everyone to Marvel Hub. This is DK Dynamite, and although this channel is solely focused on the MCU, we know the X-Men are eventually going to be in the MCU thanks to the Disney and Fox merger, and X-Men Dark Phoenix will be the final 20th Century Fox X-Men distributed film. So within today's video, we're going to be going over some massive spoilers and plot details from the film, and I'll have all the sources and links down below in the description in case you guys are interested. But starting off, number one, Mystique dies midway through the film. So this really isn't a surprise. They've been teasing a funeral for quite a while now. We've been seeing set pictures for many months, and a lot of the major 4chan leaks were talking about Jennifer Lawrence's take on Mystique dying in the final X-Men film that is of course being distributed by Fox. We next up have no origin for the aliens in the film. So it seems like this film is really focused on some hardcore X-Men mythos and essentially requiring the viewers to know a lot about X-Men to actually understand what's going on with the story, the aliens, etc. Going pretty hardcore into the Dark Phoenix saga, with Jean Grey being the villain. The final act was changed. In the old version, there was an alien invasion to the UN where Chastain's character, doesn't have a name in the film, tries to kill all the world leaders. Now there's a fight on a train crash site. So not sure why they would change the ending, but it does seem like with the final X-Men films here, Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, it seems like a lot of changes are kind of making their way into the film as post-production proceeds, just to accommodate for the fact that there will be a Disney and Fox merger, and to accommodate for the fact that we probably won't ever see an X-Men film or a spin-off with this same cast or with the same storyline that's been going forward ever since X-Men First Class. So that's not really a surprise in all honesty, and we know X-Men New Mutants has also been suffering from a lot of post-production issues, a lot of reshoots, a lot of casting changes over the past couple of years, and the release date for that film even got pushed back a couple of times as well. Now, the person who wrote this also said that he was told the train sequence is fun. After Jean nearly kills Charles and he talks her down, a bunch of SWAT guys grab the mutants and throw them on a train. Chastain and a bunch of aliens attack the train to get to Jean, while the X-Men, freeing themselves, fight them off. Nightcrawler and Magneto get to go off in some cool way. So another thing here is with Magneto and his character development, we've seen a pretty phenomenal character arc with Magneto, the younger version that is, ever since X-Men First Class, and 4 films in now with the prequel cast, it seems like they're really doing a good job with establishing Magneto's relationship with Charles, and I'm really impressed with how they handle his character arc, because we have some phenomenal talent, some phenomenal actors a part of the 20th Century Fox X-Men cinematic universe. And they definitely haven't wasted them, but I'll talk about my opinion about the X-Men universe in a little bit. Now, Jean kills Chastain at the end of the film and dies with her. So pretty sad, but kind of mimicking X-Men The Last Stand a little bit and kind of remaking the whole Dark Phoenix storyline when Jean does of course die. So not surprised about that either. Now, since this is the final X-Men film with the 20th Century Fox universe, kind of makes sense, you know, some really phenomenal character arcs coming to an end, killing off some major characters, and opening up the door for potential spin-offs or a potential connection once the Disney merger does happen. So moving on here, Charles leaves the school to go live in Genosha with Eric. So once again, finishing off Eric and Charles' character arcs and their relationship, going from friends, going to be enemies, and then becoming friends again. You know, it's a really nice and very peaceful way to end their character arcs for the final X-Men film here. We also have Scott change the name of the school to Jean Grey's School for the Gifted. So once again, pretty meaningful change since Jean is going to end up dying. And this is all from Daniel RPK's Patreon. He's also been a pretty reliable source with some Avengers Endgame and even Captain Marvel leaks over the past couple of days. I'll have plenty of links down below in the description to a lot of his work and a lot of his leaks that we've been covering over the past couple of videos. But that's it for the X-Men Dark Phoenix leaks. Now, in terms of what I think, and what a lot of other people also agree with when it comes to the X-Men universe, is that they kind of got off on a pretty good note with X-Men First Class, bringing us a prequel trilogy, trying to fill in a bunch of gaps that weren't really explored in the original X-Men trilogy. And once we get to X-Men Day of Futures Past, which is personally my favorite X-Men film of all time, we kind of get to the conclusion of the original trilogy, kind of closing off the character arcs for the OGs and the X-Men, and then kind of paving our way into this new timeline that's been constructed with the prequel cast. And a lot of it could get confusing. I think the X-Men has one of the most troubling and confusing timelines to actually follow, alongside some other games and movies out there that have a pretty massive universe of films. And when we got to X-Men Apocalypse, this is where things kind of went downhill. This is when you kind of noticed the lack of creativity, just the downfall with the writing. There were too many problems with Apocalypse that really made me turned off from the entire X-Men universe. And then we of course have Logan, which is easily a 10 out of 10 superhero film, one of the best of all time, and it's an unfortunate conclusion to Logan or the Wolverine. So we see that film and we're like, well, where else could they really go now? You know, there are, you know, plenty of other X-Men films they could establish with some of these existing stories, but without Wolverine, without some of the OGs, without the original X-Men, they kind of started it all. It feels kind of dull, and I'm kind of worried about the MCU. Once Endgame comes out, we still of course have sequels for Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Captain Marvel eventually, but we're not gonna have the core characters that we're all used to. So can Marvel also come up with unique ways to further the MCU, Phase 4, Phase 5, Phase 6? Can they continue to do that without characters like Iron Man, without Captain America, probably without Thor, while we're going to have people like Black Widow and Hawkeye probably appearing in the Disney Plus TV shows coming out next year? So once again, it's going to be a massive, massive change with the MCU, and we kind of saw how Logan's exit from the X-Men universe kind of affected the X-Men movies as well, because he did have a short cameo in First Class, but he wasn't needed too much. But in Days of Futures Past, he played a phenomenal role, and it was really exciting to see him in another X-Men film. But in terms of New Mutants, I believe New Mutants will mark the absolute final X-Men film that is distributed by 20th Century Fox. But to me, it's almost a pointless film at this point, because it's like, you're introducing us to all these new characters, this completely new storyline, and then boom, it's over, because the merge is going to happen with Disney and Fox. And from what I understand, it seems more like we're going to be seeing X-Men TV shows on Disney Plus versus films straight away, maybe to just distinguish the difference between the OG X-Men films from Fox versus this new line of X-Men, these new characters, this completely new cast, which will be set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I would probably agree with that. Instead of rebooting the films again, doing another take on Dark Phoenix, another Days of Futures Past, another First Class, instead of doing all that, kind of build up to those stories as if we're building up to Infinity War again, but do that through these TV shows. You know, there's so much the X-Men can do. The X-Men is so big as a team that I feel like a TV show better fits the X-Men altogether. And in terms of Fantastic Four, I feel like they deserve another film, because there are some good X-Men movies. You know, don't get me wrong, the original X-Men movie, X-Men 2, great films. X-Men 3, not so much. Days of Futures Past, fucking solid. First Class, pretty good. Maybe not as good as the original X-Men, but still pretty good. There are great X-Men films out there, but Fantastic Four hasn't really had the time or the opportunity to shine on the big screen. You know, the original Fantastic Four film by Fox wasn't awful. Could have easily been a lot better, but the sequel had potential and completely flopped. And we're not going to even talk about Josh Trank's 2015 take on Fantastic Four, which was just pitiful. So they deserve another film, but I think X-Men could be better off with just a Disney Plus TV show. But let me know what you think of this down below in the comment section. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn notifications on for the latest and greatest Marvel news and information. Thank you so much for watching. This has been DK Dynamite, and peace out, everyone.
Charles, what did you do?
I had to keep her stable. I protected her.
From the truth? You feel like you don't belong here. You don't.
Jean lost control. But she's still our friend.
She's all rage, pain. And it's all coming out at once.
You're always sorry, Charles. And there's always a speech. And nobody cares.
Don't do this. There's still hope.
the right to fear me.